I loved Leo for 10 years. He rejected my child without hesitation. It was a blessing that the baby left, so I no longer had to go to the hospital. That night, I lay on the cold operating table, ready to give up on life. Leo, who never believed in God, stood helplessly outside the church, crying, "As long as Ella is alive, I will give my life for her." Leo came to my apartment, his face red from alcohol. "Ella, now I have a child," he said. I instinctively touched my stomach, which felt empty and sluggish. I could barely remember that I had ever been pregnant. I was 3 months pregnant, but because of Leo, I had an abortion. There was emptiness in my eyes as I sat quietly on the bed, without saying anything. Leo hated my lifeless state. He often said, "This is because of Ella. You should never feel wrong." Tonight, maybe he was a little more drunk than usual, but he didn't force himself on me. Instead, he gently took me in his arms and softly said, "Ella, I want a daughter with you." With me? What did his child have to do with me? I involuntarily let out a sad laugh. "Leo, I want a child too. I want to get married." Leo paused, unbuttoning his shirt. He took out a cigarette, lit it, and took a deep drag, letting the smoke swirl around. Then suddenly he hugged me and laughed, saying, "You too?" After saying that, Leo casually walked away. The color drained from my face. I sat by the window, passing the long, dark night until morning. The next day, when I arrived at the office, an unexpected guest was waiting for me. The beautiful girl who had just come with Leo was standing before me, as if she were about to pour coffee into my eyes. I instinctively raised my hand to protect myself, but at that moment, the hot coffee spilled onto my body, and I cried out in pain. Then she smiled happily and said, "Ella, if you try to seduce Leo again, next time it won't be coffee." This wasn't the first time Leo's women had threatened me. In the past, I had always fought with them, but now I started to feel scared, and the other colleagues, whenever a woman came after me, would all gather around and enjoy the spectacle. They mocked me because they thought I was Leo's hidden mistress in the company, a secret. But what they didn't know was that Leo and I were each other's first love. We had been together since high school. When Leo arrived at the office, his hair was slightly disheveled, and he stood in the shadow outside the door, as if he wasn't afraid of anyone. The girl who had just been bothering me immediately changed her tone, sweetly calling out to Leo. But Leo ignored me and walked away with the girl. I just wanted to silently step back. "Why are your hands so red? You should apply some medicine." I turned at the sound of his voice and saw a cold-faced man standing with Leo. I nodded gratefully and started to leave. "Stop!" Leo stopped me, and his face grew even angrier. He grabbed my burned arm and pulled it firmly. I cried out in pain, "Do you think I'm letting you go? Clean up this place." The girl smiled happily at the way Leo treated me. Finally, peace returned. I always said that Leo hated me the most, but why didn't he let me go? Leo loved that girl a lot. That night, the girl came to my apartment. She watched me and Leo kissing on my bed. I closed the door and turned back. As the door closed, as soon as Leo stopped, I felt it. "Ella, your coat is still on. Get the new one." I silently laughed. What was that about? He was talking, but I wasn't looking back. When Leo called me again, I knew what he wanted. My relationship with him was no longer the same. We were together, but deep down, we had grown apart. He was happy with another girl, and I was looking for a new beginning. A new courage was awakening inside me, but I still hadn't decided whether I should stop or continue on my path. One day when Leo's call came, I didn't answer it immediately. I knew that his only purpose was to get my attention, just like he always did. But this time, I decided not to fall into his trap. I hung up the phone and tried to bring new color to my life. A few days later, an old friend, Mark, came to see me. He had always been a supportive and loyal friend. He offered me a new job that could bring a change to my life. I thanked him and decided to seize this opportunity. Leo was still behind me, and he knew that my life had changed. He would occasionally remind me that we were meant for each other, but I no longer believed in that. I knew that love could never be one-sided. I made the decision that a new chapter in my life was about to begin, where I would discover myself and take control of my own destiny. One day, when I was working at my new job, Mark came to me and said, "Ella, you made the best decision of your life." I smiled and thanked him, and then, in my heart, I remembered Leo. He would always remain in my mind, but now my purpose in life was something else. Leo noticed the change in me, and one day when he came to see me, he was in a strange state. There was a sadness in his eyes that I had never seen before. He said, "Ella, I know you've left me, but I want to come back into your life." I looked at him and said, "Leo, I can't do anything with you. I've changed the direction of my life." After that, I left him for good. I felt like I had taken the step that was best for my life. I was now free and in control of my own decisions. It was the moment I promised myself that I would write my own destiny and not be at the mercy of anyone else. Leo's memories would always stay with me. But now I had left them behind and moved forward. Ella had taken the first steps on her new path, fully embracing her decisions and taking full control of her life. Her life was now heading in a new direction, where she worked hard to fulfill her desires and dreams. She had never felt so free and empowered before. A few months later, Ella achieved great success in her career. Her confidence and self-belief had grown. With Mark's support, she had managed to build a new identity for herself and became recognized as a capable individual in her field. People valued her more, and she was living each moment of her life with happiness and peace. One day, Ella was invited to attend an event where she would speak about her achievements. She saw this opportunity as the culmination of her journey. As she participated in the event, Ella realized that there was nothing missing from her life anymore. The journey she had started had now come to completion. During the event, Ella shared her accomplishments with Mark and thanked him for his support. Mark smiled and said, "Ella, you paved your own path. It's your hard work and determination that brought you here." Ella took a deep breath and replied, "This was all possible because of your support, Mark." Leo occasionally crossed Ella's mind, but now he had become a part of her past. Ella had fully embraced this new chapter in her life, and every day now began with new hope and excitement. She now understood that love wasn't just one thing, it was just as important to love oneself and trust in one's destiny. When the event ended, Ella looked at herself in the mirror and smiled, saying, "I did all of this, and I am happy." The strength she felt came from the determination and confidence she had built within herself. Ella had now become a complete person, content and fulfilled in every part of her life. She had proven that in order to fulfill our dreams, we should never let the failures of the past block our way. A new beginning, a new life, and a new self, Ella's story had become an example for others.